Hello, Briat, yet again.
Hello, Ryan. Nice to see
Day 500.
you. Right, here we go.
How are you today?
Doing good. Today was a nice day, actually.
Good. I wanted to delve into a topic that anybody that is on a spiritual journey, this topic meets you very close to the beginning of that journey, and it never parts from you right to the end. I think there's levels to it, and there's intentions that we create, and then there's being able to develop the practice and then increase the practice. And
Yeah.
that practice is about compassion. So the place that I would like to start is, you've been on the spiritual path for a couple decades now, and what what have you? Where are you now, and what have you needed to improve with your compassion with self?
Where am I now, and what did I need to do to improve my compassion of self?
Yeah, in this place in where you are in life, we'll get to the family, but
Mhm.
just with yourself, when you're looking at yourself, what do you have to keep your eye on? What do you have to keep remembering? What is the practice that you keep doing to continue being compassionate with yourself and demonstrating it?
I think there isn't some particular direct thing that I do for that, but I can say that it does happen as a natural consequence of what I do. So I can say what
Yes.
that is, and I can make the connection and say why it does happen automatically. And it is that what I do is it's part of my daily spiritual routine, is where I meditate on mantras. Some spiritual curtain sound vibration which connects me to source, and it's also a meditation on a request to be engaged in devotional service. And why that automatically also translates into increasing self-compassion and things like that is because um, I am part and parcel of this amazing, infinite, supreme source of everything, the source of all varieties and personalities and qualities and traits and whatever we can perceive and beyond. And that this source, God, or I relate to as Krishna, is is the most fit for receiving my love. And since I am a part of him, therefore I'm also fit for receiving love, and that I'm worthy of
Yes.
receiving love. So in that way, if I'm not appreciating that in myself, that means I'm not actually connecting to God properly, because I'm not seeing things
Yeah.
properly, because I'm seeing
Yeah.
myself as separate from him, which is not true. I'm never separate from him, like nobody is. And
Yes.
since he's worthy, that automatically makes me worthy. So that means if I'm giving him love, then that automatically translates as giving myself love, because I'm a part of him. You water the roots of a tree and the whole tree gets watered like that. So in that way, and I think sometimes it does come if I'm neglecting myself a bit, then as a natural consequence of my meditation on source, then source guides me to focus on my own needs a bit more. It'll come up in my consciousness spontaneously. I'll just naturally start thinking about how I'm neglecting myself, and then that reflection process happens without me even having to initiate it myself. So it's quite mystical, but still it comes up in my consciousness. I have to go through it, and I have to think of how to love myself more, take care of myself better, maybe do some things that I like to do which I've been neglecting or something like that. I don't know if that answers your question. It's quite an
Do
integrated.
you
So
do you ever have any self-judgments?
Self-judgments. Yeah, it comes
Yeah.
up. Yeah, it comes up often.
Okay, so when it comes up,
Mm-hmm.
so I want to just go through the process. So you have a self-judgment. You either have a feeling or a thought that goes through your head, or a feeling that goes through your body, and you recognize what it is,
Yeah.
and you can see, oh, that's a self-judgment. And then what do you do?
Um, I've been through that a lot of times. So generally, there's like a certain amount of responses that automatically come from my practice, but like that self
Yes.
judgment will usually be, I confront it with things like, is that true? Is
Yeah.
there something that I am not doing and that actually I need to look at and then start improving on? Or am I just like being negative about myself and I am doing my best? I look honestly at these kind of things. And generally, whatever the case may be, I try to, I give myself positive affirmations. I try to make sure that my
Yes.
attitude is not negative, that I have to see that, okay, my current approach, where's that going to go? And is it going to bring me down or is it going to lift me up? And if it's going to pull me
Yes.
down, then, okay, I need to change the way I look at this thing. It's my
Right.
approach is
So then there's
negative.
an intervention.
Yeah, yeah.
So if
It's a
you
nice way of
decide
saying
that
it,
there's a
intervention.
so if there's a self-judgment, and that you realize it's going to take you down, and there is no value in there's no real value that you need to pay attention to, it's just a negative thought. So then when you realize it's just going to take you down and that you need to change it or do something, what is the nature of that intervention? What does it look like? What do you do?
What do I do? What do I do? Well, either I will, if I don't know what to do, because sometimes that might happen, then I would ask advice from somebody that I trust. I would ask advice from my good wife. I've been blessed with somebody who's quite insightful and wise. Or I would approach somebody who, like my spiritual master, somebody whose insights I trust, somebody who's more experienced. Or if it's a reoccurring thing, I would just apply the advice that I already have received from my own reflections and wisdom, or from other people.
Yes.
And so, just one moment. It starts with changing the way I think and making that positive, and then having a plan of action, and then actually acting on that action, which I think is actually the hardest part, where most people struggle with, including myself, is actually bringing it from your mind into the physical world, acting on it, that it doesn't just stay in the mind. Which means you start working, you start applying yourself, you start implementing steps in order to change it. I don't know if that is
Okay.
tangible enough.
Well, the one thing that,
Yeah.
I want to go back to one thing that you said was you said that the first thing I do is I check to see if it's true. And so when you have a negative thought and then you go, okay, that's that, I've identified it as a negative thought. And then I go, well, is it true? When you look to see if it's true, talk about that a little bit. How do you know if it's true or not? And more importantly,
Yeah.
when you realize it's not true, which most of them aren't, then what do you do?
Okay. So how do I know if it's true? Sometimes it's actually not clear. It's healthy to always have a little bit of room in your mind there that thinks that, I could be wrong in the way I'm seeing this right now. There's something I could have missed. And it's also possible that I could be deceiving myself, because that is an extremely common occurrence in this age. And if you do it yourself and you've discovered you have done it yourself, it's not a big deal, because everybody does it. It's an unconscious thing. But anyway, so don't be afraid of being wrong. You're trying your best. I think sincerity is really what's going to make the difference. that you keep trying.
Yes.
So anyway, so that's what I would do. I could reveal my mind to people I trust, not to many people, because people can confuse you even further by what they say. So you should be quite selective who you would reveal your mind to.
And even doubting that, you just tripped along something that I think is really quite powerful. So when we are doubting ourselves and we go, is this valid? Is this true? Is this the truth? Is there, usually it comes down to, there is something wrong with me. I need to do better. How do you know that? How do I know that I need to do better? How do I know that it's, and is this true? Is this fair? And most of the time it's not fair. Most of the time it's, we need to be different than we are, or the outcomes need to be different than they are, or I'm inherently not good enough. And these kinds of things are lies. These things are not true. And being able to realize the truth in who we are, and that so much of it is a lie. And being able to see that it is a lie, and then being able to change the habit is that to change a truth, I'm not having these experiences without having a belief. If I don't have a belief or a definition, I'm having no experience whatsoever. So I have some kind of belief that I'm not good enough, that there's something inherent inside of me, and I think that that's pretty much inherent in all human beings, that we do have to deal with that we question our worth and we question our acceptance, and that and realizing that it's creation made me whole and creation made me perfect. I have some work to do. I have some beliefs that are not accurate and not true, but the creation made me perfect. And being able to go and that another thing that people judge themselves about is that I should have known better. I should have known something before I knew it. Like if people have blind spots, for example. So you only know when you know. So, thinking that you should have known something, when you didn't, is so incredibly unfair. So once you realize that these things aren't true, then I find a higher truth. Well, what is my new truth? What is actually really true about me? What's my new truth that is aligned with me and aligned with my faith and aligned with my connection to creation? And then I just displace the negative truth with the new truth, because there's an emotion that comes with it, but you have to believe it. If you don't believe the new truth, then you won't, then you're just, pretending, and that will not hold the day. You actually need to have a higher truth that trumps the lower frequency, the judgment that's unfair and untrue but habitual, and then being able to change the habit through repetition of replacing it. That's what I do. So okay, so then with with family, now you have two little ones and a wife, and since I haven't seen you since you've become married and a father, and so what kind of compassion have you had to expand upon having a wife and children?
Well, I had to expand on compassion for myself because it's quite challenging having to, being accountable for other people all of a sudden. I kind of got myself a family starter pack. I married somebody who already had a 3-year-old. He's 5 years old now. So starter pack vibe. So it was like in the deep end, and now we have a 15-month-old also. 2 boys, full of fire.
Okay.
Definitely in my kind of own internal journey, I had to be more compassionate to myself, not being hard on myself for not getting things right, not being hard on myself for not adjusting to the new lifestyle super fast. Being more compassionate on myself for seeing certain undesirable qualities within myself come out, as they often do in intimate relationships. Everybody experiences.
Oh yeah, family is definitely, the love relationship with a wife and children is the greatest test, I think.
It is such
for
a test.
human beings. It's such a test. especially on
it becomes
compassion.
very clear where you're at and what's inside, because when you squeeze something hard enough, whatever's inside is going to come out. And if you find yourself being angry a lot, then the only conclusion is because it was inside all along. You can't blame it on the other person.
Yes.
Sometimes it's you the one making me
Well, it's
angry.
hidden.
No. If it's not inside there,
Yeah,
if there's no lemon juice inside, then there's not going to come lemon juice out when you squeeze it. So if there's no anger inside, no amount of squeezing is going to bring it out. So anyway, so in a sense, being more compassionate on myself and just like being more embracing of myself and where I'm at, and then just endeavoring as sincere as I can to improve myself day by day, and just being fixed in my spiritual
to learn and to do better.
Yeah, and then doing the same for the others around me as well, being the same for my wife and children, and not expecting them to be perfect, and accepting them, and also allowing them that same liberty to make mistakes and to grow, and to also have undesirable qualities within themselves, because they're also on a journey just like me. And and in that way, trying to be an inspiration for them to pursue their spiritual path. And especially now that we have children, and the one thing I would like to do for them is that when they leave and become independent and choose whatever they want to do with their life, that if they understand that the primary purpose of human life is a spiritual one, then I would have regarded myself being successful as a parent. That they know that purpose of life is spiritual, all this other stuff is just circumstantial, and it's temporary, and they're actually insignificant in and of themselves. Yes. So then I would be the happiest parent. Then I know, okay, I did what my duty was just to train them what the purpose of life is, and I have to, by my own personal conduct, I have to inspire that. There's no other way that you do it. Not by teaching them, sitting them down, and I don't know, teaching them scriptures, whatever. That's part of it. But if my conduct, my personal example does not inspire that, it won't do anything for them. In fact, it might just even be more of a disservice to them. They might see me, identify me as with something spiritual, and they think like, but that guy was an asshole. I don't want nothing to do with any spirituality. And then in that way, it happens. And in that way, I've actually shunned him completely.
A lot.
Yeah, unfortunately. So in that way, intention is not enough. It's also, you have to actually produce the result that you want. It's not just intention.
So yes, there is, and that was my next set of questions. And you just brought out one of them is intention and practice are the two things that you talked about. So that would be like if you had the 5 top things, or because it really is like having an intention and then the practice. What for people that are on their journey for compassion and with themselves and others, what would be the process? It's really the rubber hits the road. There is a practice, there is an intention. So what are the things that you do that if you wanted to encapsulate it for somebody else to be able to apply simply as possible, is there anything that you could suggest?
My formula that I personally follow is that I try to see everything as being a part of God, of the Creator and the creation. And in that sense, every part is meant to cooperate for the benefit of the whole. Like any machine, every single nut and bolt and screw and gear, it's all meant to function cooperatively. And they all have different things that they do. They all to cooperatively for the benefit of the whole machine. Of the whole machine.
Yes.
And so similarly, I try to see everything as being part of that. So I go to there first. Otherwise, so I go to the top, and then from there, I try to find the link to my current situation from there. I find that works very best for me because it's such a simple approach. It's the same thing that you have to remember under any situation. And you do that first, and then you connect your situation, either internal or external, to that. If you do it the other way around, it can get confusing so easily. But so that works.
Can you give me an example of how you apply that? So if, pick something that is, that could be triggering you, and then how do you become compassionate, and so how do you take it to the top, and
Go away.
how do you take it?
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm just going to hang this up.
Speaking of children, and being compassionate, you did very well. Gosh, I can be slightly less patient, I can see. So perfect example. Good job. Way to set that up. Now I forgot what the hell I was saying. So with people learning how to be compassionate, what is it that you, when you take it to the top, like give me an example of how you will see their part in the whole, what their purpose is, and then how that frees you to be compassionate.
Okay.
Start with somebody behaving badly that triggers you.
Okay, right. So when I take it to the top, somebody triggers me, they do something, I become upset. I become a bit angry. I maybe think something critical about the person, and generally that will also mean my intelligence is a bit clouded, so I can't really discriminate properly anymore. So then if I'll first realize that, okay, the way I'm feeling now is not really cool. I'm bewildered. Let me step back a little bit and just, okay. So then I think this whole situation just has been controlled by the supreme controller. And that not even a blade of grass can move without the sanctioning of God. So I move into there, and then I think, okay, but God is all loving and he's all powerful and benevolent. So in this situation, he's controlled it. He's made the situation for my benefit. Everything that happens is for the benefit of everybody. It's just me that cannot perceive right now how this is beneficial for me. So, but there is an opportunity here for me to benefit from. So what is that benefit? So now I'm trying to see how
what most people are doing is they're in a situation, they're triggered, somebody's behaving badly, and then you go to, well, what is the benefit for this person doing this, and what's the greater benefit than me being just annoyed?
Yeah, and also what's the benefit for me? The benefit for me, like they've maybe done something offensive to me, and then so I'm more thinking about myself, because I have to improve myself first before I can even think of helping this other person, right? And yeah, so because I can only apply this on myself. He has to apply it on himself. And unless I have a particular relationship with him, my instructions to him won't mean anything. So in either case, the best I can do for him also is to act properly myself. So which might inspire this person.
Which is, what's acting properly?
Well, that's where your realization would have to lead to, is what is the proper response, like in that situation. And the proper response would be, is to be humble, which is my next point I was going to make, is on the one hand, I would think, okay, since this is happening to me, it must be my karma, because certainly in the past I have done things that I should not have done. I've done good things, I've done bad things, like everybody. So now I'm simply receiving some bad karma for some reaction of some things I've done in the past. And actually that's nice, because I'm getting a chance to clear some of these reactions out now. And at the same time, I can now take the opportunity to reflect on certain things. The creation is trying to bring something to my attention. And if I'm getting angry or upset, then I might start thinking, like my own personal recent meditation reflections on such situations is generally because maybe I'm proud. I think like, how dare this person speak to me like that, and that's pride. It's like, why should I feel so proud about that? So that means I'm identified with my body. I'm identified with my mind. And then I try to detach.
So let me ask you,
nothing.
Just to emphasize that part of what you said is, can your lower frequency, your lower self, be offended?
Right. Yeah, so that's your lower self. Exactly. Yeah, it's your lower self only.
And can your higher self or your highest self Can your highest self be offended?
No, he cannot.
No.
Yeah,
So you're really, so if we're being reactive, then what we're doing is that we are relating to what's going on through the lower self, that we're not God, and that, you know, that there is, that somebody can hurt me, and the things that they are saying, our fear is that there's some truth in them.
Yeah.
Because when you're your higher self, you see that there's absolutely no truth in them, and that we can actually be kind to people, because we realize that if they didn't have their own pain, they wouldn't be doing this, and they wouldn't be saying this. So they are in their own pain, and that and if they're judging you, they're judging themselves. So being able to actually be compassionate to them and kind to them in the face of where most people want to poke them in the nose, we actually can, you know, do something that's good for us. It's good for me, and it's the truth as creation's made it. Everybody's perfect. They just might not know it yet. So being able to take the high road or the higher frequency and not be offended.
Exactly.
Okay,
and this is just one line of meditation from one single event. I could go back up, and then I can find another reflection of myself which is relevant to that same event, and improve myself in another way. So a single event can have multiple beneficial reflections for myself. It's kind of like I connect back to God, to Source, and then it's like you put one of these old school scuba diving suits on with a big helmet, and it's got this pipe plugged, you know, going all the way up the boat, and you're going plum, 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 down as your higher self with your kind of transcendental orientation, and you go into the realm of your lower self, and you go and check there, and you clean a bit, and you see what's happening, and you're not getting triggered by the things your lower self gets triggered by, but now you're also learning a bit more about your own attachments and things. And then you can go back up, and then you can go down another route. And in that way, it's quite powerful, that type of reflection. But it's important to always have connect spiritually.
I love your analogy of your transcendental suit as you go from your higher self, and then with that suit of your higher frequency, you can go to the lower frequencies and have a look around. Which I call, it's exactly the same process when you are a fair witness or being the observer, and being able to look at what's actually going on at the lower frequencies, but you're not actually being, just because you're feeling these things and looking at them, you're not actually entertaining them or taking them on as real. Your real job is, you have to feel it a little bit so that you can see what's going on, but you're actually not really believing it. You're observer to actually learn about your nature at the lower frequencies.
Yes.
And then being able to apply higher frequencies of knowing that I am godly, and and creation made me perfectly. And that if you know that, that's the deep diving bell suit that you're talking about, the transcendental suit. I love that. I'm going to use that, by the way.
That's nice.
So yes. There's one other thing that you said. I just want to back up a little bit. And you talked about being humble. And could you just say a couple more words about, you know, what humble looks like and why you're humble in the places of being triggered?
And being triggered. Okay, why? Because somebody who's humble, humility is a spiritual quality. It's not something that's actually found in the material world. And one can fake humility, but to actually be humble is something completely different. And in the spiritual perspective, certain qualities that are actually desirable, in a material sense, they seem very undesirable. And so don't misunderstand me. I'm going to say something, and then I'll explain like how these things can be understood in two different ways. So somebody who's humble does not feel that they deserve respect, because so they won't then react if somebody disrespects them, because they don't think like, okay, I'm not expecting respect, or I don't feel like I deserve respect, so I'm not getting it, so big deal. But now you're wanting it, you think you deserve it, and then if you don't get it or you get the opposite, then you kind of get a bit offended. So in a material sense, a person might think, oh, you should value yourself more. You do deserve respect. You should not tolerate, disrespect. And that helps to function in this material world in the sense of a dog-eat-dog society, because these are like central. But from a spiritual point of view, actually, um, respect is only something which is required to perform a particular service. In that case, one might demand respect, but actually one does not need it. For example, I'm a parent, or at a teacher. Now, let's rather say that one. I'm a teacher, and at school, in order to fulfill my function as a teacher to the students, which is to educate them, I require respect from them to fulfill my duty to them. If I don't get respect from them, I cannot fulfill my duty. I cannot teach them effectively. So therefore, I can demand respect for them, but I'm not demanding it for my enjoyment, so that I can be like, yeah, you know, a lot of people respect me, you know, you should also respect me.
Yes.
It's not like that. It's more like, I just want to do my service. This is something I need for my service. If I did not have the service, I would not care for it. And then you detach. Now it's just this thing in front of you, as opposed to this thing you're trying to draw into yourself. So then it's just a tool that you're using, respect, as opposed to something you're trying to relish. So somebody from a spiritual perspective, they will take respect as far as they're required for their service, but otherwise they don't need it for themselves, because they don't feel that they need it. And anyway,
the line,
and even
the
if
line that I draw
comes,
there for that,
okay,
the line that I draw there is the line of that the pitfall is superiority. The pitfall, that I'm better than somebody, or somebody's better than me. And people seeking superiority is definitely a false ego function, and gets very confusing. People confuse superiority and respect. Is that creation is given the same amount of respect to every molecule, particle, being, sentient being, a tree or animal or planet for that matter, is that, and it's all at the highest level, is that we all deserve respect at the highest level because we are godly, that creation made us equal. There are no half miracles. Everything is a miracle is another way to say that. And so that's respect, is that, and part of that respect would be that if somebody doesn't realize their greatness, is that if you're on a spiritual path and you know that they are godly, then you treat them as such. In the Bible, for example, when Jesus was washing the feet of murderers and prostitutes, because to show them their godliness, and he was bowing down before them, is a good example of that. And then, but people get confused with superiority. So we all need to be respected at the highest levels, but we don't. We know that we are respected at the highest levels, but we're not demanding it of anybody, other than in places like when you have to do your duty as a teacher. But also the trick is superiority, is that that's one of the central themes of What to Watch, is that you are never superior, ever. The desire, and people need to realize, the desire for superiority is completely equal to their belief that they're afraid that they're not.
Yes.
To whatever degree they figure they're not good enough, is to the degree they need to prove to themselves that they're superior. And that's the entire game of that. There's nothing else there. Is that if I have a belief that I'm not great, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not something, then I need to prove superiority by power over, or undermining, or making someone lesser than.
Yeah.
So, which is false, which is entirely false, and it is such a hall of mirrors. So
in the material world, there's hierarchy, but in the spiritual world, there is none. In the spiritual world, everyone is equal, but in the material world, there is hierarchy, and but the original principle is the spiritual one. The material one is circumstantial and temporary, and they can shift from time to time. And if one is detached,
it's a false hierarchy.
One only sees this so-called superiority in the material world simply as a certain position you have to render certain service, but you don't actually feel yourself to be superior. Like in ancient Vedic cultures, the political systems were all monarchies, and the kings, they were all saintly people. they all perfectly understood that actually I'm a servant of all these people. I'm not any better than all of these people, even though I'm riding on the palanquin. I'm being carried by other people on the palanquin. I've got all these horses and gold ornaments and things, but that just comes with the position. But actually, I'm no better than any of these people, because we're all spiritual beings, and I just have a service to protect these people and make sure that society can function nicely, so everybody can fulfill their desires and pursue their self-realization. So in that way, they don't feel themselves superior, actually. So and they don't act independently either. They have got their counselors and guiders who are beyond the system, and they are all absorbed in spiritual meditation always. And he takes guidance from these kind of people. But in that sense, you see somebody who's acting as a superior, but he knows factually I'm not superior. And I'm actually reading an interesting conversation in the Puranas now about a king who engaged a sage to carry the palanquin, because this sage was acting like a madman and a deaf and a dumb person, so that he could avoid social interactions, because he just wanted to meditate on Brahman, on source. And so he mistook this person for a low-class person. So he engaged in carrying the palanquin. But then this person, he didn't want to step on the ants. So as he was avoiding the ants, the palanquin was bumping. And the king's like, what's going on down there? Carry this thing properly. And then they continued, and it still bumps. And he chastises this guy, and he says, what's wrong with you, and he was very sarcastic to him. Anyway, this person responds back to him, you think you're the king, and you think I'm your servant, but actually you're an illusion, because these positions can change. They're circumstantial. None of us are better than the other. We're all equal. And as he spoke like this, the king immediately understood this person is actually a saint. And he got off the palanquin and he offered his obeisances. And then a very amazing conversation ensued, where the king asked him some questions to clarify certain spiritual statements he made. But anyway, this is how it was. Even sometimes a king would identify with the position, but very quickly he would be corrected by some person with superior spiritual insight. And he would submit to that because they knew what is truth. They just sometimes would forget it, because it's the nature of their work is to get very involved with material affairs, because managing the world is not easy. So it's naturally to happen. So anyway, I thought that was really nice.
I just wanted to underline one thing that you said earlier, was that there is no hierarchy of superiority in spirit, in the spiritual practice. Yeah. And the Course of the Miracles says it like this, which is it's amazing distinction that's very simple, is that the only difference between you and God is that God created you, but you didn't create God.
Yeah.
So creation created you, but you didn't, so that we're exactly the same, except that we didn't create. And in the sense that we create our own world, it's in a much smaller way. We have the same powers to be able to create the world that we want. And that's what we're actually here learning to do. But the point of it is that, we're not all equal to God, is the point, is that we are, all of creation is equal. The only thing that is there's a difference between, is that the only difference between God and you is God created you, but you didn't create God. Yeah. I think that's really beautiful.
That's really nice. It's even in our Vaishnav philosophy and theology, it's seen that God or Krishna, even though he's the source of everything, and everything is meant to serve him and please him, he in turn is just endeavoring to serve the people serving him, which is everything. Because that's fun. It's not. That's what's fun. That's what's nice. It's not just to sit on the throne and just like bring me more. It's like that's not fun. It's like it's not so nice. So it's nice to serve. It's nice to exchange love, to do something for somebody else. So even Krishna is doing that.
Sure.
So even though he's the supreme independent, I like that. That appeals to me a lot. It's more. Beautiful. I can engage my human nature with
what
that.
What is our time?
It's actually reaching to the end now. We're at 32 minutes.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to end with one last point, is in regards to compassion and being humble and kind, you actually stand out of all the people that I've been able to meet. I'm sure there's others that you would point to before yourself, But for me, you were probably the most humble and kind, and you know, no matter what the situation was or who that you were dealing with, I always really felt that how humble you were and the place that you came from was always so endearing to everybody that you had around you. So you know, and the places that I saw that were not at the temple or not in a spiritual situation necessarily. It was around a fire at a festival, and you know, in more of a camping situation. It was really interesting to see, you know, how you operated, and I could really see the difference between my grace and your grace. So I just thought I would leave you with that. So a reflection of that, you know, how I think that you've really done such a good job on your work, and I'm working on it.
Thank you. I appreciate
I can
that.
do better.
Kind
Stop
words.
judging me. That was fun. Okay?
Yeah, that was a nice one.
That's spiritual humor.
Yeah, yeah. It's important.
At the end of our compassion video.
Yeah.
So any last words, Mr. Briot, sir?
Doesn't matter who or what you are right now or what you've done before. You can engage it in service. You can move forward, and God's ready to embrace you. He has embracing you all the time anyway, so you can embrace him back.
Yes.
It's fine. It's like, so don't judge yourself for that. You're beautiful. In this age, everybody's messed up in some way or other. So don't feel like you special. Don't feel like you're that special that nobody's as messed up as you, because everybody is, in a sense. But on the same time, everybody has, at any moment, has an opportunity just to embrace that natural innate beauty and love within themselves, which they are. So just do that, and then just move forward. You know, what's history is history. Yeah.
Beautiful. Forgive yourself.
Yeah.
So I hope this is useful for people that are new and applying any of the principles of compassion. I hope that this provides some kind of help to you and reflection that you can use in your journey. And once again, thank you very much, Briot.
Yeah.
Love and light, mister.
Thank you so much,
Enjoy
Brian.
your hot weather in India.
Yes. I'll send the liquid portion of myself to you. Melting. Okay, see you later.
Beautiful.
Bye.
See you, man.
Arrivo.
Bye-bye.